Don't go deep in the water. One or the other, anyway. But at the end of the day, like, it's just having a chat, you know what I mean? Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee with SamPaul. Again, I'm at Degraves in Victoria because it's great coffee. And I'm very excited to be joined with an award-winning producer, drummer, record engineer, I think, from memory.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, that's how we roll around here. So, Plutonic Labs. How you going, man?
Hey, man. How's things? Good to meet you.
Oh, likewise, man. Likewise. So, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No worries. Yeah.
So, we were just having a bit of a chat, kind of before we got our coffee. So, I might just sort of step back to that if we can. So, you started drumming in the '80s, is that right?
Yeah. So, my dad was a Hammond player.
Yeah.
It's a jazz keyboard player.
Oh, nice.
And so I grew up in a house with, we had a spare room in our house. This was had instruments in it, basically. Drums were the instrument that we didn't have, but it was kind of like implied as I was a kid that I would learn an instrument, basically.
Yeah.
So I picked the one that would be the most obnoxious and loud and piss everybody off.
As you do.
It was like in primary school, basically. So around 1980 or so, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so did lessons for about 4.5 years or something, and then being a kid, just decided I just wanted to rock out like a dickhead and just play along to records and stuff.
I'm surprised you lasted that long with the lessons, man.
There was I think there was some kind of I had to get lessons for a year or something like that, with just learning rudiments on a practice pad.
Yeah.
And then I would get a drum kit. So there was sort of there were kind of rules added to the whole thing.
Yeah, nice one. I actually did drumming myself in primary school for a very brief time, but I never progressed past the pad. I had two left hands.
Seriously, the pad's not that much fun when you're a kid.
Nah, but I just didn't have the coordination for it. I
had a good teacher. I lucked out and got a good teacher straight away.
Awesome.
He was
makes a difference, I think.
Yeah, there's a guy over here in Australia from Chicago, and he was just really encouraging. And,
yeah, right. That's it.
Sort of just just filling my head with, you could do this and blah blah. And it was it was a good person to have around at that time.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I did a bit of bass lessons, probably early 2000s, I think it was, and the teacher I had was amazing, and I think that made such a big difference to my progress. I've been playing for years, but I really couldn't get past just root note style,
Just meeting someone that's maybe passionate about it.
Yeah, most definitely, man.
Rubs off on you a bit.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense in some respects to go from drumming and then to kind of do some hip-hop stuff, which, that's how I know you are. I know you from the group Muff and Plutonic.
Yeah.
But as you were saying sort of to me earlier, that was not the beginning.
That came later, I guess. In the 80s, I was in a bunch of bands. The first band I was in was with a bunch of older guys, 19, 20. And somehow, my parents let me underage, but it's the 80s, latchkey kid shit. Let me go away on weekends and play music in pubs and stuff underage.
Yeah, right.
And I eventually just had, I guess in the early 90s, I was in a few groups, but also simultaneously learning how to record. I met a substitute teacher in high school that had back in the late 80s, it was pretty uncommon to have a really great home studio. It's not like it is now where you can have Ableton on a laptop or whatever, and basically that's all you need. It was 8-track reel-to-reels and proper mixing desks and all kinds of hardware. And
that would have been
what would happen was when I finished high school and was just bumming around being a musician, he would go overseas and let me mind his house and feed his cat and stuff, and then which meant I had access to a great home studio. So I was just there sort of learning. I didn't know what a producer was, to be honest, but it was kind of I was just learning how to record stuff and all that kind of shit.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah,
because I studied audio engineering a couple of years ago through SAE, and obviously most of it was the more digital setup.
Right.
We did have access to tape recorder and stuff at times, but obviously we learned history of that, so I can imagine what you were dealing with back then compared to what people use these days.
Yeah, I mean the principles are kind of the same, I guess. It's all good knowledge to have, and if you learn, if you've learned how to do a tape, and how to track things and put microphones in front of stuff, then it's sort of like it does translate into what you can do now. It's all sort of the same thing.
Yep.
It's just a lot quicker and easier and there are less pitfalls. Honestly, like I know there are a few crews that deal with tape now, and like that's the thing, and it is a sort of like an aesthetic and also sonic choice to do it like that. But I honestly don't miss that stuff.
No, that's fair.
It's I think when I discovered you could like multi-track on a computer, it was like see you later. It was like, that's pretty much good to go.
Yeah, no, that's fair, man. I understand that. I mean, this little device that I'm using to record the audio here is actually a 4-track multi-track. Right. But I can record simultaneously. So I mean, and it fits in the palm of my hand.
Technology is incredible, right?
Yeah, like and I was looking at like the studio that I was at today, and it's like all like analog stuff, and it's just like wow, like it's just such a different world, but similar but different.
Well, my mastering engineer is like has a full sort of analog mastering suite.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm sort of like at home when I record, it's sort of like a hybrid setup. So some of it, I go through an old analog board and like to put microphones and record stuff, and but once it's in the box, it's kind of like it kind of lives in there. Yeah. And I feel like at the mastering stage, it's nice to hand it over to someone to put it back out into the real world and through some circuitry and stuff, and give it a bit of something,
Yeah, nice. So you obviously had that kind of mentality. There's some people that are really staunchly analog, and it always sounds best in analog. You can respect both sides.
I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, like no matter how you do it, it's not going to make your song any better. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a good songs or a good idea is just get it out however you can get it out. That's why like I think so many people like 20 years ago were like so shocked when kids were like just killing it on their laptops and stuff and doing all that stuff and winning arias and shit. And, it's like you don't really need that much, but you can if you want. Like use a lot of gear,
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I think like you said, if it's a good song, it's a good song. And
I think that's the most important thing, right? The ideas and what's in your head.
Have you, probably a silly question maybe, but have you done any formal training in the production side of things?
I did. It wasn't really studio recording, but that was an element of it. I did university for 4 years, and got an honours degree in media arts. Nice. That just meant like kind of like messing around with MIDI and studio recording and doing gallery installations, and it was sort of like a pretty arty kind of course to do, I guess. Not really like SAE or something like that, but it was kind of like I went into the course. I was already making records, so it's kind of like I guess the thing that I got most out of going to university was just being plugged into kind of like broader ideas than I already had, or being introduced to other kind of just like other music or other ideas or film. It was like a lot of it was based around film. I guess I thought I was going to be like a sound designer.
Oh, okay.
So that was my main thing, or at least maybe do music for film or score. Electronic score. So I guess what happened in the 4 years I was at university, like it was the beginnings of this is like late 90s into the early 2000s, and the Oz rap scene started to really kind of like take off, and I got so busy making records for other people and mixing other people's stuff and doing my own thing that I kind of like left university and was like full on just like busy doing that, so I never really pursued the other idea.
They do say that like, the path you're meant to be on kind of chooses you, so to speak. So, as much as you probably had that passion for that kind of work, the sound design and obviously the hip hop that you and all that other work that you're doing, maybe that was where you were.
Yeah, it's interesting time. Like I had access to the studio there at RMIT, and we would bring, like, say if Attorney or someone, an underground rapper would come through Melbourne, like they would get in contact and have them come to the studio, and we'd have somewhere to record, and like it was good times, and we made a lot of records, and it was great having access to a good studio.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt. I have to ask, being an Adelaide boy, obviously, Hilltop Hoods are one of the groups that I've grown up sort of listening to, and I do know that you have done, I think, drumming for them live. Yeah,
so the last 12 years.
Yeah, so, and also I read that you record and mix them. Is that right?
Yeah, I mix the records for the last last few years.
Yep.
Yeah. So and a bit of production as well. So
Yep.
yeah, I've become, I guess, because Debris didn't want to really do it anymore. So
Yeah.
I just became the mix engineer.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's been fun. It's been good to work on some big records. You know? So yeah, that's just like another. I guess it's been fortunate having a few skills, so I can be a tour drummer and also mix records and do production. Or I mean, because I guess to make a living doing music, you kind of have to have
a few hats.
Wear a few hats. I guess you got to do a lot of different things.
No, most definitely. I've found that as well. Like, you know, it's you know, you got things you can do and you can make money from, but it's not really.
And diverse, like you might even just do, you know, I know drummers who kind of like are fantastic drummers, but they don't just drum in bands, you know, they do all kinds of, they do their music school, they do their, like, you know, their thing online, they got an online presence and they're doing all that kind of stuff, you know, their endorsements and, you know, there's plenty of ways to skin a cat, I guess. You know?
Yeah. I would like to ask just, I guess, for your opinion, if I may. I see a lot online, particularly talking about streaming services. Particularly Spotify seems to always be targeted as, like, you know, ripping off artists and so forth. Like, whereas from my experience, I mean, I'm not making money hand over fist or anything, but I feel like, you know, in the context of what it is, to me, it's like a residual income. You know, it's not something you're going to make a lot of money off up front, but it can go on for a long time. But how do you feel about streaming? And it's convenient.
I guess that's the best thing about it, is it's convenient.
Yeah.
Not everything is on it though, which is, I guess, the more, without sounding like a complete tosser, like the more you get into record collecting and you're into different genres of music, and the further you dig, like a lot of the stuff you like isn't actually really available on any of those streaming platforms. I think Apple Music's probably slightly better; it has more tunes, but I don't know. As an artist and trying to, like, you know, I can remember when you'd sell records and tapes and CDs and stuff, and so it's quite different from that. And I think you kind of have to really make your money elsewhere. Really, I think streaming. Well, there was an idea a few years back there where it almost felt like the music and the streaming services and stuff that was kind of like just. You know, a thing that people had access to, but it was only part of you as an artist. Yeah. And like the actual physical product, like records and shit, that's kind of merch. Yeah. Whereas it used to be kind of like the thing that you put out. That was the art, you know. It's actually not. I don't know if it's really like that now.
No, but I think when you go to an actual live show, that becomes much more.
That's kind of like the last door to basically kind of thing, you know.
If they find a way to replace that, we're all in trouble.
We're probably only moments away from like having an AI kind of like hologram do it for us, I guess, like MF Doom style or whatever. It's kind of like raises a lot of questions about like what is intellectual property.
Yes.
Or, you know, it's a pretty grey area, I think. Like, and it's getting pretty scary to like have any kind of like ownership over your art, I suppose. Yeah. I know that sounds pretty funny coming from someone who's made a living at times just like sampling records and chopping shit up and stuff. Yeah. But like, it's pretty crazy. Like, I guess there is, you know, there's still like a huge art to doing, you know, hip hop. Yeah. It's not just kind of like getting a machine to kind of like replicate, make a trap beat with these elements in it and put Drake over the top. You know? Like, it's pretty weird. If you can just do that in a command line, it's pretty scary, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Getting back to your original question, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about streaming services. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's something really lacking with the way art is presented, I suppose. Like, there's something lost there, I think. I think the other thing I'd add is kind of like, I've been saying this, which sounds kind of tossy as well, but like, I reckon home studios are kind of like the new hot rodding in a way, because everyone's always trying to like, you know, do the upgrade or get a new thing, and like it's all about the gear acquisition. And
check out this new lifestyle.
Just like, you know, everyone's upgrading shit all the time, rather than like, you know, they know they can make perfectly fine tunes with what they have.
One thing I learned, because when I was studying, they were really big on pushing Pro Tools. That was the go-to, but once you become not a student anymore, it becomes quite expensive to maintain the subscription. So I've just gone to Logic Pro. Right. The only downside of that is I've now got to keep my really old Macintosh going. Okay. But one thing that it made me realise is that, like, it's more important for me to know what the tools inside out
Yeah.
than it is to keep adding these extra things or getting these better things. You know,
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
know how to use one condenser but use it really, really well.
Right.
rather than
That's really
having-
important, and I think that gets lost a little bit.
Yeah.
With people try. I mean, it's great, try everything, try out stuff, but like, I think a lesson I learned years ago was that get one piece of gear. Like, it used to be MPCs, and I learned on an ASR10. That was
Yep.
my machine.
Oh, nice.
But just like rinse that machine, like really learn it inside out and make the most out of that one thing, rather than kind of like just learning a little bit of everything and just sort of like half-assed sort of putting stuff together. I think there's something really important about really knowing your gear. If you have one microphone, learn all of its strengths and weaknesses and what it sounds good doing, and if it's not so great at doing something, work out a way that you can make it pass. I think that's
some good
really good
advice,
stuff. Really good stuff to learn, like just how to make do with your gear. And
Yep.
people do it too, like people that really know their gear can pull a sound, you know what I mean, in any condition, any environment.
Yeah. You know, I've got a really good, I guess you could say, analogy for that kind of mentality. When I was a kid, I, for a few years, raced BMX competitively. And, most of us were the same, like we were talking with the equipment. We're getting a new bike, we're doing, upgrading this. There was this one guy, and he was his family weren't very well off, so he had like a Kmart bike, let's say. But he knew that bike inside out, right? And he trained really hard,
There's
and he used to beat
kid,
everybody. He used to beat everybody on this, crappy as BMX, you know, and I think it's the same goes.
It's frustrating because there's always that kid that's like, just come and beat your ass. And I was like, how the fuck's he doing it on that thing?
Exactly. You just think to yourself, man, imagine if you had a really good bike, like how well he'd do, But it's the same, like as you're saying with the equipment, if you know it inside out, you know what it's good at, what its weaknesses are, you're going to get the best out of it. And you're going to like pull some good tricks, so to speak, using the BMX analogy there. Probably pretty close to be able to finish up, I reckon. But I did just want to ask you though, if I can, sort of what are you up to at the moment? What do you got coming up?
We're going like since COVID happened, we're going first time back overseas to tour. Since 2019. So we finished a world tour in 2019, and then the last 3 years, I think we went to New Zealand one time for a snow show, and then we did some shows last year, like some arena shows, which was great. So it's sort of like resetting my brain to like be prepared for that stuff. And I think so in June we're going for 4 weeks to Europe, play some shows, which would be awesome. Like really looking forward to that. So that's what's happening on the touring front, and I've got like a few records that I'm sort of like chiseling away at. It's taking a little bit slower. I'm a little older now. So I'm sort of working on a record with Fred Leone, who's an Indigenous songman, and we've been writing like a soul record, I guess. But I'm not really sure exactly how it's going to sound in the end, but I'm getting like an idea of, we're just writing songs and just assembling songs, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to produce them, I guess, and assemble them.
Yeah, cool. Sounds like a good way to do it. Just let the art sort of take its path however it wants to go.
Yeah, just been doing it on the the base level, getting a good song. And then seeing how to interpret it and put it down, sort of thing.
That sounds good, man. I look forward to hearing when it surfaces.
Thanks.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, Plutonic Labs,
for
taking the time out of your day to come and have a coffee with me.
No worries, man.
And I wish you all the best with everything. And hopefully we cross paths again in the future, man.
Cool.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
All right. Peace. Oh, actually, I better just quickly mention the jumper. Grow Clothing, their Melbourne-based clothing company, have given me the hoodie and a couple of shirts to wear when I do the show. So I should give them a bit of a shout out.